bars and white bars. Yellow bars are the days of the week when the monkey was being trained, and the white bars, as you can guess, are weekends. The monkey is there, but the person to train the monkey has a day off or 2 days off, a weekend off. And it shows two plots there. The green one is for the rewarded case, and the blue one for the unrewarded. And in the beginning, at the onset, there is no difference, overlap. But you see that the green and the blue blue curves are getting separated. And then you have the vertical line, the red line, which is the switch. You then get immediately, you see the dip for the green line here, so as expected, and then it recovers, and you see that you get a similar discrepancy between the green and blue line after a few more days after the switch happened. So this is the brain plasticity thingy. You see that it's increasing the curves. After some training, after 20 days or so, it's already split. And then if the switch happens in paradigm, you also have a very quick effect of plasticity. So if you look at the difference in the two synchrony levels of the two cases, reward and unreward, if you plot that over time, then it shows clearly how the different signals build up. And then, so I'm slide 55 now, the red line shows the switch there. You see that you get that dip immediately after the red line, and then it continues to build up. And for monkey 2, you see it's a more erratic pattern. You see that the white intervals are pretty broad, and it means during a lot of months, several months, sometimes the monkey has not been trained, and you see this affects the performance. The monkey has somehow forgotten the task, right? So you see that it's very plausible. Okay, and then in slide 56, you see the change between rewarded and unrewarded cases. If you plot it over time, not only training time, but also after the cue onset. So the vertical scale of the top left figure is in milliseconds after showing the stimulus, and we have subtracted those phases for rewarded and unrewarded cases. You see a red big blob. That is a very clear difference. There is a much higher synchrony level in the time frame between 250, 200, and 300 milliseconds. And if you plot that in the cyan colored curve, it's restricted for the time interval between 200 and 300 milliseconds or so. If you connect all the maxima in that evolution over training days, you get a cyan curve, which is reproduced, and a blue curve for the thing that is mapped sensorial. So until 150 or so millisecond, you get a blue and a cyan colored curve that you can plot, and the plot is shown at the top right. You see the difference there in the synchrony, in the phase synchrony. You see that mostly is attributed to the attentive part. So it's not just a sensorial process; it's a more attentive, more cognitive signal that you're picking up. And this was all for monkey 1. The two bottom panels are repeating the story for monkey 2, and it's more cluttered, but there is some similar story there. So if we then move to slide 57, then you can see the level of synchrony as a function of distance in the Utah array. As you can guess, there is more synchrony between electrodes in each other's vicinity than synchrony between electrodes that are further apart. And the thin line, the thin full jagged line, and the thin dashed line, they indicate reward and unrewarded case. They overlap completely. The smooth line are just regression lines. So they overlap completely. There is nothing to be discerned here. But after training, you see for the thick lines, the thick jagged lines, and full and dashed lines, you see that they are becoming apart. So if you plot that, you get an idea that maybe there is information also in another way present in the array, and we can actually go towards a concept known as optical flow. I'm now on slide 58. There you see a traffic scene. Someone has a dash cam and following a little van, and there is an upcoming bus, and you see all these red arrows. These are indicating speed. These are speed vectors, and they have an angle and they have a length. The length is proportional to the speed, how fast, and the angle is, as you can guess, the angle in which things are moving. If now on slide 59, so you have you can make a video of actually of the local speeds for each of these electrodes. You have this way the UTAP becomes an image of 100 pixels, of which 96 are recorded from. These are indicated. The ones indicated by the crosses are just crossed out. They're not recorded from. So therefore, it forms like a picture, and you can look at that picture as a real image, like a movie, right? You can make a movie over time, and this way you can see how speeds are being distributed over your UTA array. You can do this for the rewarded and unrewarded cases, left and right panels, and then you see the timeline in milliseconds indicated from 0 to 300. Okay, I move to slide 60 now. So if you look at sort of wave that is going over so your average actually all the directions of the local thingies onto one big direction. You can have like a sort of wave that is going over my UTA array. If you look at the histogram there, and the histograms are shown, for example, the one top left shows it for the rewarded case as a function of the angle. That's the horizontal axis, the function of the angle in which this wave is propagating, and the vertical axis is training days. You see the red line again there, the horizontal line. That's when the switch happened. And then you see that it seems that the histogram has two peaks, and these two peaks are shifting a little bit as a function of training days. And if the switch happened, you see an interruption. And if you would go to the unrewarded case, you see it also. So if you would stick the upper part of the unrewarded case to the lower part of the rewarded case, you would see a continuum. So logically, because of the switch that happens. The bottom right curve shows you the overlap for day 33, for example, between the reward and unrewarded case. So you see that the green one there is some separation from the unrewarded case, the red one, but there's also a big overlap. So there is information definitely in wave propagation, but it's a bit difficult to discern. So we need to do some analysis here. And now on slide 61. So suppose we actually stick to the principal directions of wave propagation and project everything that happens over time after stimulus onset onto that principal direction, and indicated by the white arrow. And I'm on slide 62 now. Then you can see, if you plot that, then you can see what predominantly is indicating downwards, for example, in the rewarded case is in white, and if it's pointed towards the left, it's in black. So you see a clear pattern, black and white pattern emerging after stimulus onset. That's the vertical scale, and horizontal scale is days after training, and you notice the red line. So here you see what happens, that you indeed the wave seems to be propagating in one direction, the white one, then suddenly switches in the black direction, then again white direction, then again black direction, then again white direction. So indeed the wave is sweeping in different directions all the time over your array. And this is also the case for the rewarded, unrewarded stimuli, but there are some differences. The right two panels